Hey everybody, Captain Joe here again with Creativity Heals from Help Heal Veterans, and we're here basically to educate people on how creativity helps support wellness, build resiliency, and help a healing journey when you're suffering some type of trauma. And we're happy to have David Pyle here with us today.
Thank you, Joe. What a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, from Pyle Creative Studios. David, I know you're going to tell us a little bit about yourself, but you have been really instrumental in educating the community about the creative community, industry I mean, about how creativity helps with the healing process and beyond just expressing yourself. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, thank you. So I'll try to keep it brief here, but I teach at Colorado State University. I teach in the arts management program, but I also teach a class that's called The Perfect Intersection. Art making is a way to learn and do anything. So I work with my students with things that like paper making, on how to understand organic chemistry and hydrogen bonding. We talk about Joseph Albers' color theory and how that ties into Werner Heisenberg's principle of uncertainty in physics. But really the thing we focus on is how do you use art making as a way to explore yourself, explore your fit in the world. And is there any better way, is there any better thing that you can do than use the creative process as a way to help you understand where you fit, understand how you can help your culture and your community, and make sense of things.
Right. So taking off from that, so our whole premise is that creativity can help you with the healing process in a lot of ways, either mental health, physical health, and I just like your perspective. Why do you think that is?
Why? That's a big question. That's a big
and everybody's
question.
got a different perspective. I'm interested in yours.
So, there's this, if I could wave a magic wand, one of the things that I would do, excuse me, is try to disabuse people of this notion that you can only make art if you have quote unquote talent. What the hell is that?
Right.
And you can only make art if you're a quote unquote artist. I mean, what do you have to do to be able to put artist on your business card? So one of the things I'd love to be able to do is to get people to realize that it's not about quote unquote being an artist or quote unquote having talent. It's about how do you use art making, whether that's visual art, whether that's music, whether that's crafting, whether that's theater, whether that's dance. How do you use that kind of creative process to help articulate and explore how you fit, how things come together? Yeah. And you can do that with art making in ways that you can't do it. I mean, language and writing is also an art form and a way to help explore that, but you can explore your fit in the world through the arts in ways that you can't through any other discipline, any other process.
Yeah. So one of the challenges that I've seen, or I've experienced myself with this creative process being art, and it takes off what you're just talking about, is sometimes I have the perception that my stuff is not good enough. Like, think about kids. I don't want to draw or I don't want to paint because it's ugly. For me, I'm a songwriter. I don't want to share anything that people may not like, kind of thing. Or for me, we deal with veterans, and veterans are in active duty military, be a man or woman. We're big, tough people, so that's a little touchy-feely for me. So I'm not gonna take that on.
Yeah.
So what do you say to people who are thinking like that, or especially, for my stuff's not good enough?
Yeah. So that whole not good enough thing, or I'm not going to draw because I'm not an artist. Or I can't draw, all I can do is just, I can't even make a straight line. Well, who the heck cares? What really matters is again, working with my students, I hear so many students say, I'm not an artist, I study science, or I may be in another discipline, but they're the ones who are taking my class on the perfect intersection. Right. So I see people all the time who are hungry for that process of exploring creativity, making things, because it makes you feel good. So there's that, which is very simple, but again, that's something else. If I could wave a magic wand and help people understand that it doesn't matter whether or not somebody else likes what you're doing. Right. It doesn't matter whether or not it's going to hang on a wall in a gallery. It doesn't matter whether or not you're going to perform in Carnegie Hall or in a bar someplace. What matters is that process of making helps you put pieces together. Yeah. It helps you put pieces together in yourself. Right. And my son's a veteran. My son's a Marine. And when he came out of the service, we started working on things together, whether it was crafts or whether it was art making process or Legos even. Yeah. We started working through all of that. We started using those things, again, to help put pieces together. that allowed him to feel more integrated and put things together in himself too.
That's great. And it's one of the things that we hear from our veterans too is doing some creative with a family member or a friend. You're communicating, you're sharing. That's sometimes when you've been away from a different culture for a long time, it's hard to get kind of back into it. Speaking mostly from a veteran, but it could be anybody. Like you're joining a different tribe. You've been away from your tribe for a while, and you have to reconnect. So doing something creative as a tribe member can be pretty empowering. So I kind of like to. Do you have a favorite story about creativity has helped someone? And this could be, for us, what I know from where we spent at Hill Vets is it can help somebody from traumatic brain injury, or help a child bond with his parent, or help them with pain management. Do you have anything that you've seen, either a story you've heard or something you've experienced or whatever that you think was really impactful?
Yeah, and actually I'm going to say two things. One, the first one relates to with my son when he stopped when he came out of active duty. Just on a whim, I just grabbed some stuff for us to start making things and putting things together. And it became apparent to me really quickly when I brought this stuff out, and he just grabbed onto it.
Right.
And I just thought I was doing something maybe fun that we could hang out and do some things together, but it became clear very quickly that the process of putting pieces together for him also were helping him put pieces together in here.
Right.
And I thought I was just doing something to be fun for us to do together, and it actually turned into something much bigger.
It's amazing. It's amazing how something so small makes such a big impact.
Really small. I thought it was just, let's just hang and do something fun together.
Right.
And it turned into a big thing for him.
That's awesome.
The other thing is, again, thinking about my students, when I started teaching this class, I thought, because of the title, The Perfect Intersection, Art Making is a Way to Learn and Do Anything, I thought I was going to get a majority of my students being art students and young people who were interested in art making. But actually, most of my students, 80% of my students, are science students. And they come into this with a very clear sense that science and the other things that they've been studying on is so linear.
Right.
It's so 1 + 1 = 2, and you just keep going on a particular path, when in fact the arts help you put pieces together from so many different directions and help you create intersections. And I'm a big believer that the greatest opportunities for us and the greatest entrepreneurship opportunities are in the intersections between disciplines, as opposed to just within a specific discipline. So I have students come to me all the time and say, I had no idea. I always thought that the arts were just kind of for that other tribe, for that other group, where they know what it means to be creative, and I'm a science type. But all of a sudden I'm learning that I can use art thinking as a way to put things together for me in the sciences and in the arts and in other disciplines that has totally changed my life, totally changed how I feel about what I'm going to do with my career.
It's funny, I'm going to share a story too. It's like, when I was on Capitol Hill from the Navy, so part of our job was to take members of Congress about the military and whatnot like that, and just be there if you have any questions. So, I have a bunch of junior officers who work for me, the best in the Navy, outstanding men and women. And one of the things I did while I was there as a leader, because like you say, we're military guys, we're pretty much linear, you're very focused, and you're very hard, can be a very hard way of looking at things, but and it can be kind of, your life's kind of out of balance. So I remember I took half a day, and we walked from Capitol Hill over to the National Museum of Art. And I talked to everybody, I said, hey, we live such a life that's so focused on one thing, you forget the beauty of what you're supposed to be fighting for, defending. So let's walk around and just experience the day. And I will say that every one of those folks really enjoyed taking that half a day. And I had somebody else, one of my officers, who became a commanding officer, who was up near here in Seattle, actually, on a nuclear-powered submarine, did the same thing to his wardroom of his officers. So it reminds you the beauty in life, or what art does. It's not just healing, but just as something special. It makes you human.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I've been doing for 50 years, and that I also try to get my students and other people that I spend time with to think about, is there's such power in just carrying a sketchbook.
Yeah.
If you go and you're sitting on the mall, the National Mall, and just take a half an hour and sit and just do some sketches, do some drawings, you will remember more about what that experience was like.
Right.
I find that with my sketchbook, if I go outside and I'm sitting and drawing for a little bit, I remember what the air smelled like. I remember it's magic. People love seeing somebody sketching or making art. So I remember the people that I've talked to, the friends that I've made, remember what the air smelled like, remembered Was it a warm day? Was it a cool day? You internalize your environment in a way through sketching and drawing, because you're learning how to see, you're learning how to observe in a way that you can't otherwise.
Yeah.
So really powerful
It's
stuff.
super powerful. Super
And I've
powerful.
made so many great friends just by sitting and doing a sketch, and people come up and say, "What are you doing?" And you end up talking, and you learn about their life, and you learn about your life, and
connecting, and connecting is healing too.
You connect.
Yeah, that's part of that sense of community makes you heal as well, or get better, or feel better about yourself, or build resiliency. So,
no, you go ahead. I got
Go
a question for you. Okay, so what advice would you give to me in working with young people, in working with my community? And here, I do an awful lot of work with different clients and different people here in the art materials industry. What advice would you give me about how to tell this story better so that we can break down the barriers to creativity?
I think
you're so good at this, Joe.
I think
help
from
me.
an industry perspective, is just remembering you're creating a project. You're very lucky. We are so fortunate to be in the art and craft industry, because you're making a product that helps enrich people's lives, that helps with the healing process. And just remembering that, is just remember that I'm trying to create something with a better color, or a better thing to be useful, or help somebody express themselves. That's so much power there. Remember that in your design process. As you're talking to, you think about your consumer, you're not really, your customer, you're there to serve that customer. You're there to serve them. Yeah, you want them to buy your product, but they're going to buy your product because you feel good about what they're doing. So to me, that should be almost foremost in your mind. Is that you're doing, not just you're running a business, you're kind of a public servant too. And sometimes I think people forget about that because they're worried about what's coming up the next quarter.
Absolutely.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And I think for your students, for creating, the biggest thing that I think any educator can do is create almost a non-judgmental zone, especially that creative piece. I mean, like for me, I'm a budding songwriter, and I have a hard time because, I write one line, nobody's gonna like that, so scratch it out. But I talked to a buddy of mine who's a great songwriter, says, write down the stuff that you want people to know about you, that you're afraid to share. And that's for the true artist. And I think it's for anything that you do.
And it takes, that's great, but what you just said, doing that, I'm trying to think how best to articulate this, that takes guts.
It does, yeah.
It takes courage.
Right.
And I had a conversation with my students just last week around, if you're going to start a business, if you're going to go in a totally new direction, I mean, it takes guts, it takes courage to do that. And then with my students, we started talking about, well, do the arts teach courage? Can you teach courage? Is there any way to teach courage? And what we came down to is the arts help you get outside yourself and help you look for ways that you can take a risk and put things together in ways that you can't otherwise. I was talking with somebody else recently and asked that question, what is there any way to really teach courage? And the arts do that, and obviously being in the military is the other thing that we came up with, is that the kind of courage you have to develop in that setting is powerful, but the arts do that too. The arts may help reinforce that.
I would agree. I would say, for me personally, I see the arts as helping you. You have a place where you can fail, and you learn so much by failure. I draw this picture and I didn't turn out quite right. Or for me, I'm writing this song or learning a new song from my band, and I screwed that one up. I've learned it, now I'm going to keep it growing. And that's how you learn.
But you didn't screw it up.
No, you didn't.
There's no such thing as an idea that's, hardly ever is there an idea that's fully formed the first time it comes out. Ideas grow. They take shape.
They do.
They're seeds. They grow into different things.
They do. But you talk about courage not to fail. To be somebody to express yourself that way, you have to take a chance that you will, and you probably will. And that by doing that, you grow. Yeah.
Nicely said.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Thanks, David. Yeah. Well, David, this has been great. Thank you so much for your time, sir. I mean, you're an educator, and I'm really happy you can educate folks who listen to Heal Vets, and it's about taking that risk, taking that step and being creative. It can really help you not just grow, but heal whatever your challenge is.
That's wonderfully said. What a pleasure to talk with you, always.
Thanks, David. Thanks, you
my friend.
for being part of Creativity Heals. We'll talk to you soon.